World War II is often remembered for its sweeping tank battles, massive naval clashes, and devastating air raids. But beneath the thunder of bombers and artillery, another kind of war raged, one fought in the shadows of craters, foxholes, and makeshift trenches. In this brutal environment, soldiers resorted to improvised, banned, or soon-to-be outlawed weapons that operated far outside the boundaries of conventional warfare. Many of these devices were so vicious, so unstable, or so ethically questionable that they vanished from battlefields forever once the war ended. Here are 8 forbidden or long-lost World War II trench warfare weapons that will never see the light of day again. Nicknamed the Bouncing Betty, the German S-mine was one of the most feared weapons of World War II trench lines. When triggered, the mine shot upward to waist or chest height before exploding in a 360-degree burst of steel ball bearings. So, it was specifically designed to target clustered infantry in trenches, where, honestly, escape was nearly impossible. Although technically a legal war weapon at the time, its horrific wounding patterns placed it among the most psychologically devastating devices of the war. After World War II, international pressure led to major restrictions on anti-personnel mines, and by 1997, most nations agreed to ban them entirely. On both the eastern and western fronts, soldiers frequently turned unexploded artillery shells into cruel booby traps. They buried shells under thin dirt layers, wired them to trip lines, or embedded them in trench walls. The result was a weapon that could obliterate an entire dugout in an instant. These makeshift devices were unpredictable and often detonated during construction because they violated multiple laws of armed conflict, especially the prohibition of indiscriminate traps. They disappeared entirely after the war. Today's international conventions firmly forbid the use of disguised explosives targeting unsuspecting troops. Some units, created illegal clusters of incendiary grenades, often mixing white phosphorus, thermite, and standard fragmentation grenades to clear trenches with maximum terror. These combinations produced fire that clung to flesh, filled trenches with toxic fumes, and triggered secondary explosions. White phosphorus remains tightly controlled today, and combining incendiary agents in booby-trapped clusters is now considered a war crime. This brutal trench-clearing tactic died with World War II's most desperate battles. While standard shotguns were used legally in World War II, some soldiers privately modified the ammunition to increase lethality. Hard-loaded shells were packed with makeshift shrapnel, nails, ball bearings, glass shards, creating a devastating close-quarter trench weapon. So, many Axis forces protested the use of shotguns entirely, calling them inhumane. The United States, rejected those claims, but homemade hardloads were undeniably illegal under the Hague Convention, which prohibited expanding or irregular projectiles. These improvised shotgun shells were quietly banned after the war, and, well, they remain forbidden today. The Soviet ampulomet was a pretty crude glass sphere launcher designed to lob incendiary chemical ampules into trenches, bunkers, and vehicles. The spheres were filled with mixtures like KS fluid, a cocktail of petroleum and chemical reactants that stuck to surfaces and burned at extreme temperatures. These glass bombs shattered on impact, coating trenches in burning chemicals and releasing suffocating fumes. Their fragility, unpredictability, and chemical effects made them one of the most dangerous anti-personnel incendiaries of the war. After the Second World War, international chemical conventions rendered the ampulomet and any similar chemical incendiary hybrid permanently obsolete. The British sticky bomb was originally created as an anti-tank weapon, but, variants were sometimes used in trench assaults. A soldier would throw, or more often manually press, the adhesive-coated explosive against a dug-in enemy position. In the restricted spaces of trench networks, the sticky bomb became a highly unpredictable threat. The adhesive surface often trapped the bomb on the thrower's own uniform or equipment and, the explosive could detonate prematurely. Because of its instability and inhumane destruction of confined spaces, the sticky grenade concept was abandoned after the war and thoroughly banned under modern safety conditions. Some soldiers, especially officers and trench raiders, illegally modified their pistols with extended barrels, improvised stock mounts, and even homemade silencers. These so-called buntline trench pistols were, really intended for close-quarters assassination within enemy lines. They were not sanctioned by any government and violated firearms regulations in most armies. Even worse, they frequently exploded due to poor machining and the high pressures of pistol cartridges. Because they blurred the line between military weapon and covert murder tool, these hybrid pistols vanished permanently after the war. Flamethrowers were not new to World War II, but flame trench systems were. In certain fortified areas, engineers installed tanks of fuel connected to hidden pipes or nozzles. When enemy soldiers advanced through captured trenches, defenders triggered an ignition system that unleashed a wall of fire. These defensive flame pits produced horrifying casualties and were impossible to control. Wind shifts or accidental ignition often killed friendly troops. After the war, international pressure and the Geneva Conventions heavily restricted flamethrower use. By the 1970s, most militaries retired flamethrowers entirely. Flame trench systems in particular are banned forever. These 8 banned or permanently retired trench weapons reveal the darkest ingenuity of World War II's front lines. In the desperate struggle to survive mud, cold, and constant danger, soldiers created or encountered weapons that pushed warfare into ethically and legally forbidden territory. While they played a terrifying role in some of the war's most intense battles, they also helped shape modern humanitarian laws that protect soldiers today.